everybody for being here, and please feel free to sit. So before we begin this important ceremony, and there's no ceremony that can be much more important than this, let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury.
What a name.
Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime.
Unlike
Following
Israel.
our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped. But everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people.
What about Israel
The
having
country itself
weapons?
would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen. For almost 47 years, this regime has been attacking the United States. And
47 years, Netanyahu has said that they're going to
or a face that's been
have
absolutely
nuclear
shattered
weapons.
violently. It was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, attacking the United States and killing Americans. Hussein Obama, that was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen. For almost 47 years, this regime has been attacking the United States and killing Americans. Every time you see someone with missing arms and legs or a face that's been absolutely shattered violently, it was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, who was the father of the roadside bomb. Very proudly, he thought, but I terminated him in my first term. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. And they are indeed sick and sinister. Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out. And they came back and we thought we had a deal and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You gotta do it the right way. Today we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We have the strongest and most powerful by far military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, if the president wants to do it really quickly, after that he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General, there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think you'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now, I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through. We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot. But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You know, that the president just said that about an hour ago. And of course, we have to keep those servicemen who died and have been injured in our prayers. I would suggest we keep the over 100 school children, 175, 195 girls that were injured or killed in Iran by one of our bombs. Those little girls, we pray they go to heaven, and we pray for their families. Those are human beings, and they're just as confused as to why their children should be killed by a bomb dropping out of the sky as a victim of a terrorist attack anywhere in the world. So just, I don't know. Remember that there are victims on both sides, and that doesn't compromise whatever your views are. 12-year-old girls. Anyway, all right, let's get on to Railtown. 18,065,000 shares of Railtown. We're inching up very slowly. I guess the first 18 million is the easiest. But anyway, that's great on Railtown. Today I spoke with Ward Richardson, and he pointed out to me that earnings are due basically Saturday. So they may be coming out today on Railtown. I'm looking as I'm speaking to you to see if anything has been filed. It may be after hours today, or maybe not. You know, maybe something's going on that is a valid reason for delay. I hope not. I hope the company's not being bought out prematurely, because that'll be a low price relative to what I think we could get. But we can't control that. but we'll look for the earnings while I'm on. Um, Today at 3 o'clock, so in an hour, I have the security at this bank that I set up for this gold project. People are wiring money to it. It's complex. So they scheduled, and they do it for everybody. They schedule a 1 hour like Zoom with back office compliance and a bank officer to go through record keeping and how to do wires and how to sign in. Just a basic how to. It's very, which is good. It means that the account is secure. But anyway, so right before 3, I'll have to stop here, and then maybe I'll get back on. On that project, it looks like we have enough to send the first wire, which maybe I'll get out this afternoon after the call, or first thing in the morning. It looks like we have enough. I do want to emphasize to everyone that if for some reason it doesn't work, I'll just simply return everybody's money to them. I think it will. I think the opportunity here is excellent. I have always believed, but now even more firmly believe that the process system, which is going to be proven in the pilot plant, is going to generate gold. And therefore, it's going to create really incredible, almost unbelievable upside for all of us. That's my view. That's not a promise. It's a prediction, I guess. But I've followed the people involved and the project for many, many years, and my confidence is sky high. So we'll see. So I'll keep you up to date on that. Fingers crossed, everything works out. What would be great is if the larger money came in soon, and that would be fantastic. But I'll keep you all up to date. Now on Railtown, I already mentioned just now that earnings are meant. Well, I don't know if they're meant, but they should. Today's the last day by deadline that they should be put out. I do not expect that there'll be any revenues of significance for their first quarter, which is our last quarter. I'd be surprised if they did 100,000 in revenue. Annualized, it's not gonna be impressive, but we'll want to see what the management discussion is. We'll want to see if there's any timelines in that management discussion. And remember, this week, I think it's Friday. I think it's Friday. It might be Thursday. The company has to make their monthly report to the Canadian Stock Exchange. So we're going to get some information this week, one way or the other, on Railtown and where she sits. Next week could be the week that you start to see some grip or some purchase, or you start seeing some demand for Railtown stock. I could be wrong. My whole thesis is that GTC conference, which starts Monday, March 16th and goes through the 19th, is going to be sort of a watershed before and after, both for NVIDIA and their chips and what they're trying to do, but more importantly for TELUS. And TELUS is sovereign what do they call it? Fortress? Sovereign AI Fortress? I can't remember what they call it, but their data center. I think by the middle of the month, it's going to be, we'll talk about it before St. Patrick's Day and after St. Patrick's Day in terms of looking at the story for TELUS and whether or not whether or not Railtown is discussed. As far as I can tell, Railtown's not a presenter nor a participant at that conference. I could be wrong. I mean, they doesn't mean that if they're going, it doesn't mean the website has it or that maybe I couldn't find it. But my point is, even if Railtown isn't on the lips of everybody in the presentations and on stage, if the TELUS data center with the NVIDIA stack starts, for lack of a better word, ramping, investors, professional investors, are going to look into that stack, and they're going to say, well, who's in that stack? And they're going to find, they're probably, it's not defined yet, but I would guess that they're going to see Cohere in the language model part of the stack. But my reasoning is very simple. That's a Canadian company. It may not be. It could be Anthropic or OpenAI. Well, they'll look under the presentations or through the contracts or in the prospectus, and they'll find that out. They'll find HPE. They'll find I'm trying to remember the other ones. That Fuel IX is already part of TELUS, so they'll find it, but it's not investable. It's only investable if you buy shares of TELUS. But in their search, they'll find Railtown, and Railtown is investable. So I think St. Patrick's Day, let's call it. I actually think it could start the day before, but St. Patrick's Day will be the before and the after of this investment experience. Now, where could I be wrong? I guess if Rail Engine, which was announced at the end of, sorry, it was announced, yes, it was announced as the monthly update for January in the first week of February. So at the end of January, beginning of for whatever reason, Wi-Fi and even cellular service here today has been bugging out. It might have something to do with Operation Raging Fury. Could. Railtown's now up. This morning it was down. Let's see where it is in Canada. It's up. No, it's down. Sorry. It just showed green and now it's showing red. So it's at 47 cents, down a penny, 290,000 shares in Canada. Let me just sign in. Um, okay. Yeah, it's not connecting. Um, I really think that there it goes. Uh, Finger is up 2 cents at 125. Railtown's down half a penny at 35.5. Help is down almost a penny at 104, a little over. GDC is down 3 cents at 369. Remember, they had a press release saying that it was worth $22 a share. You got to believe that. Nixie is in the green at 54.59. The market is down 127 points, although NASDAQ is slightly up 50 points. S&P is flat, basically, down 5 points. And oil prices were over 80 earlier, but now they are $71. So I wouldn't, it's interesting watching oil prices. You see all this, the Straits of Hormuz are closed, this and that. And of course, Trump destroyed, I guess, 9 of the Iranian naval boats. I don't know how to say this in any way that isn't a little bit blunt. But I think that those involved in Wall Street and the big funds and the futures markets possibly knew in advance, because the people doing the negotiations are both bankers and Zionists. And I wouldn't be surprised if there was some heads up going on. And I also, in that context, think that oil prices are telling you, right now anyway, that those conspirators, they're all in on it, believe everything is under control. Maybe it's because Trump took over Venezuela a month ago, essentially. There was regime change there. And so the world's largest oil reserves, although very heavy oil, are now firmly under Western banking and Western oil and gas oil companies, Exxon, Chevron, control. And our refineries in Houston and elsewhere are set up for Venezuelan crude. Maybe that explains some of the reason that oil prices are not going out of whack. It also could be that there was a lot of work behind the scenes to keep this under control. Anyway, we'll find out. We'll find out as we go. I personally think there's huge risk that things happen that even the most careful plans could not anticipate. I don't think, well, who knows what Jared Kushner was thinking. Maybe if you make Dubai unattractive, Gaza Strip becomes attractive. But I think all the Brooklyn citizens of Brooklyn who moved to Israel because they're guaranteed dual citizenship because they're Jewish, they're coming back to Brooklyn, I think. If they're married, they're coming back. I don't think there's any women that are going to want to stay in a country that's can be. And that's the same with Dubai. I think Dubai is going to lose its luster. I spent a lot of time in Dubai. I really have fond memories of Dubai. But one of its greatest calling cards was it was safe. No, that I think that illusion is gone. So it's there's a lot of fallout from this that we haven't seen the end of, and I guess Iran is threatening Cyprus too. So that's not going to be a haven for Israelis much longer. It's not pleasant. They don't, I guess in Israel, they don't let you report on the damage. They censor that. But, you know, there's probably a lot of civilian life there that's being lost. And we have to pray for them too. And I'm sure there's children. It's just an unfortunate thing. I know Iranians here in the United States are grateful, but the gambit that Iranians in Iran, in Persia, are going to rally up and support the United States. I don't think, doesn't look like at least early returns that that's going to happen. So we'll see. All right, it's 2:14. Let's see where the prices are. Railtown's down half penny. It's still 35.5. 33.46 by 34.89. A lot of barcoding, but very little volume. 25,750 shares. And the last trade was 1,000 shares this morning. That's what I see. All right, I'll go to your comments. T. Alex is number one. Pat M. Howdy, Pat M. Hey, Ricky. How are you? Red Pepper, Ronnie. Hello. T. Alex. Hi, William, and everyone else. Anybody else? Anybody out there? T. Alex says hi to. D. Mac. Good day, William. Same to you. Fast Eddie. Losing a step today. Good day, $100 bill. Ricky Brogren. Oops. Railtown had 2 filings on Friday. Yeah, I think I read one of them. Something about I don't know, salary or options. The other one was kind of a laundry list of, I think, 5 or 6 contracts that were MOUs or had essentially expired, and they were re-upping. Let's see if I can find it, and I'll just read it to you. So one of them, they announced the closing of that financing, so we don't have to go through that. Oops. So slow. And the other one, yeah, it was sort of a laundry list. They clarify certain disclosures. Um, their October 8th, 2025 news release with UNICEF, sorry, is an MOU. They're clarifying that it's non-binding and for a term of 12 months, beginning September of 25. But either side can say, I divorce with thee, I divorce with thee, I divorce with thee. Their September 23 release of 22, their agreement with Quisitive, was a license agreement, a service provider license agreement. It was an interim agreement with a term of 6 months, and it was intended to be superseded by a longer term definitive license agreement, which is yet to be negotiated. They also can terminate, either party can terminate, like the first case, with 30-day notice, just saying, I divorce you. They talk a little bit more about Quisitive. And then the June 28, 2024 release with the Quebec Artificial Intelligence Institute, MILA, they're clarifying they paid $10,000 plus taxes, which is the fee for new partners. And in exchange, they receive certain privileges, the logo, using the name on their site, access to Mila's resources, research, talent, and IP. It was also a 12-month term, and it automatically terminated last summer. However, the company still engages with Mila and anticipates a new partnership agreement with Mila. Then the July 23rd, 2024 news release, they entered into a co-development agreement with the Alberta Machine Learning Institute, AMI. It was the longer of 14 months or 1 month following the final day of employment of the AMI machine learning resident dedicated to the project that they were co-working on. In consideration for the services of that agent and AMI, the program covered by the agreement, Railtown paid $100,000 plus GST, not sure what that is, being AMI's standard fee. Although the company no longer has access to AMI's resources following the automatic termination of the relationship. The ML resident, the language, was hired by Railtown following the completion of the program and is currently a full-time employee. I don't know what GST would be. I can't think of it. June 9, 2025 press release. They had a partnership with ESGAI Technologies to develop an advanced suite of intelligent environmental, social governance, and software agents, making sure that straight white men come last in line for promotion and hiring. It doesn't say that. The company would like to clarify that the partnership is structured as a memorandum of understanding between the parties, and they anticipate a formal execution of a license agreement. The date of the MOU is last summer, and it terminates on the earlier of the execution of a license agreement or the written agreement mutually of the parties, or 180 days from the effective date. The company has complied with each of its obligations under the MOU. The parties were unable to negotiate terms of the license agreement prior to the automatic termination of the MOU on December 3rd last year. Regardless, Railtown remains committed to developing the ESG agent suite and to keeping white straight males out of the boardroom. July 28th, 2025, in this news release, Railtown announced a strategic joint partnership with Bryant to deliver AI technologies to Dubai and the broader Middle East region. The company would like to retract the overly promotional disclosure in the news release and confirm that the partnership is structured as an MOU between Bryant and Railtown and AIP, pursuant to which Bryant agreed for a term of 3 years to promote the products and services of each company, AIP and any affiliates of AIP in the Middle East as opportunities rise. In exchange, Bryant is entitled to enter into a finder's fee arrangement with the relevant selling partner to be negotiated. I warned you of that, so it doesn't surprise me. There's a lot of contracts, documents signed with a flourish in the Middle East, and these princes and others, they put them on a shelf. They can say we have all these relationships, but they don't do much. It's best in the Middle East if you can talk to the decision maker directly and skip all of that pomp and circumstance. So in general, in certain of Railtown's previously filed continuous disclosure documents, the company has used phrases such as selling its AI services and solutions that the BCSC, I assume that's a regulatory oversight entity, believes may potentially be misleading given the lack of revenue reflected in the company's financial statements at the time. And I will say, for those skeptics out there on Railtown, and I know one smart guy that felt that way, and I was always very kind of blasé on these announcements, as you recall. But anyway, this is exactly why the stock didn't react to many of those announcements. It's just all puffery. Now, I don't think that the company intended it that way, but there's just so much fake it till you make it exaggeration in the markets. Not by the company, I don't think, by all these other parties. While the company acknowledges that the language may have been less than perfect, and that a phrase such as, quote, the AI services and solutions are available for sale, unquote, may technically have been more accurate, the company would like to clarify that it has in fact generated nominal, non-material, we know that, we've talked about that, sales revenue from paying customers. We've talked about that. In addition, the BCSC has expressed its concern over the accuracy of phrases such as, quote, the platform is fully trained on clients' applications, unquote. That's from a release. And that the system, quote, continually trains on a client's application, unquote, and, quote, automates a wide range of tasks associated with the client's application, unquote. That's from a management discussion in an earnings report, because the company either had no customer or a limited number of customers at the relevant time. The company would like to clarify that it was using the word client in the general sense in this disclosure, that is, as a substitute for user and not in relation to a specific customer, and that the language was intended to convey how the company's technology works once a customer downloads and connects to the platform. More specifically, once a customer downloads the company's Railtrack's agentic framework and connects to Conductor, the platform runs on the customer's own cloud infrastructure or on the customer's local computers or servers, with the result that the AI agent is able to access the customer's data stored in those locations and learn by ingesting the data in real time. Finally, Railtown would like to take this opportunity to confirm that the company's primary focus for 2026 will be the building out of its Canadian agent development and deployment ecosystem with the company's Canadian partners. About Railtown. Railtown AI Technology, Inc. builds AI developer tools and agentic frameworks that power the next generation of intelligent applications. Its platform, including real-time ingestion, Rail Engine, agent development frameworks, Railtrack's ADK, and advanced observability, Conductor. Its platform helps teams build, deploy, and operate AI agents with confidence and at scale. So that was the announcement. I think in fairness to those who were skeptical on various announcements, the company is admitting that those previous announcements were just like a lot of companies. They just put out news for eye candy and for some excitement, and it really is not meaningful in the short run. I don't think the company was trying to mislead. I think it's a normal practice. I'm glad they clarified, though, and I'm glad the Canadian regulators are so hard ass against the Longs and CEOs. I wish the Canadian regulators would be hard ass against the banks and the hedge funds who short and manipulate using high frequency trading and computer programs by selling hypothecated and rehypothecated and non-existent stock at volume, crushing every single junior company out there. I wish the regulators would get hard ass there. But that's not going to happen any more than in the West, we're going to get a legitimate airing of the terror that Israel causes in the Middle East. We're never going to get a clear reading on that either. So you just got to live with what is there. Let's just see if there's an earnings announcement. I've got half an hour before my important banking call. No news, no new earnings. No new earnings. But thank you, Ricky. I've got a GTC order, LART. I can't even guess what you meant by LART. It's an interesting point, Ricky. I was thinking about that. One of these days, we should maybe collectively put out GTC orders to sell. And I'll give you my thinking. If Railtown is the critical layer, which by acclamation and by proof of concept makes the sovereign AI factory run on NVIDIA stack successful, and it ramps and it becomes the conductor that keeps the agents on track. It becomes the engine that allows real-time robotics or trading or other data to be processed at scale, milliseconds, or it's the key layer that helps AI companies create agents or even companies themselves create agents using ADKs, using AI that work. If that becomes a standard or an important oh my gosh, I have to go in person? No, I'm going to call in. It's saying that I have 30 minutes to get to the bank, but I'm going to call in. I'm not going to walk down there. And if revenues really ramp quickly, I think my personal goal would be that it's possible that Railtown in a bidding war could be bought out at the very high end. I'm being the most optimistic of 10 to 15 billion, which would work out to 50, 60, maybe $70 a share. The odds of that, I think, are probably in the 15 to 20% range. I think it's more likely, in the 40 to 50%, 60% range that the company gets bought out between $15 and maybe $25 a share. And I don't want to ignore the fact that it could go at $10. But anyway, that it gets purchased early and that all that growth in revenue happens inside the new company, I think that has a higher chance. But you never know. So anyway, what I was wondering to myself, and I decided to think about it tomorrow, like like the woman in Gone with the Wind that fell in love with Ashley. Can't remember her name. But anyway, I just think about it tomorrow. But it's a good thing to bring up. If I think that the high end of a buyout in a bidding war, let's go to the very high, would be $75 a share, although I think it's low odds. Would I be willing to put in order to sell my stock at, say, $140, $130, $150 GTC, if after taxes that gives me more than $75? It's a good question. The problem is then you're not in the stock, and the stock might not, you might not have a chance to get in. Although if it's a Microsoft buying Railtown for that price, you'll have plenty of time to, you can come back and buy the Microsoft stock yourself. You'd give up your long-term holding period. But anyway, I think it's something we have to think about just in case there's a squeeze, which I hope there isn't. But let me give it a little more thought. Right now, I would say selling the stock, putting a GTC in at 125 or higher is probably just fine. Question is, should you do it at 100 or 90 or 80? And I'd have to give it a little more thought. Maybe we'll get more information as we go. Ricky Brogan bought more. All right, 925. That's awesome. Every day we add a little bit. $6095. 60945. Awesome, Ricky. Good job. T. Alex, another good day, just a little conflict. My next door Iranian neighbors brought me over some homemade soup. Young, beautiful couple, happy for the change in their country. Yeah, I've known Iranians. The women are beautiful. I guess the men are handsome, but they're very, it's a great country, great culture, predates anything we know about, and it's a great country. I have a lot of friends from there, and they are happy. You're right. I think there's been 2 Ayatollahs since the Shah. But you remember the Shah wasn't any great guy with his people. But I don't know. I don't know what the Ayatollahs did in their own country. They have no contact with their families right now. That's my prayers are with them. Yeah. Yeah, that's all we can do is pray. Unknown, Steve, $100 and got 300 more. Steve owns the most of Railtown on this page. But it's great. I think that's great, Steve. It's awesome. Tony Barger, if Railtown and BlackBerry are back testing their AI stack in TELUS data center and it works, BlackBerry will be the first to market with self-healing cybersecurity and critical infrastructure. Well, your thought may be right, but I'm not positive those two guys, Don Fagan, the Steely Dan guys, I'm not sure that they have anything to do with BlackBerry anymore. But their company, there's so many letters to remember. Is it called QVS or QTS? It's inside of 290 million cars. Your thought process would work with the company that they are. In fact, I think it's basically a quantum computing company. But I like your thought very much. It might not be BlackBerry. QNX. Yeah, QNX. Thanks. QNX. It might be those guys instead, Let's see if there's any earnings. Nope. It'll probably come after my bank meeting, which I'm going to do over the phone. I don't know why. I've walked down in there. I don't know why I have to be there. There was a rumor, and I think it was just propaganda, but I saw it in more than one place that Netanyahu was killed in a raid. It was not confirmed, though. And the next story is all about that woman whose mother is missing. I guess America's never going to change. Oh my gosh. Trump says U.S. strikes on Iran are about to kick into even higher gear. The big one is coming. Oh my gosh. Qatar shot down 2 Iranian bombers. I think one of our friends shot down 3 of ours. There's a mayor accused of graping a 16-year-old at a pool party. And if I told you that mayor was a male, you'd be up in arms. He'd be sent away for 30 years, rest of his life. But she's a relatively attractive, married, blonde woman. What do you think she'll get? That's when women don't want equality. Yeah, I don't know who this person is. Jake Tapper. He told Jake Tapper that the big wave of strikes hasn't even happened yet. All right, I guess we got to get ready for this war getting bigger and bigger. And I hope that Russia and China stay out. But that it can't be guaranteed. Well, it's not much there. All right. Silver skyrocket. William, GST is the way we pay tax in Canada, means goods and services tax. Ah, so it's a value added tax, 5%. It's a lot of money. What do I think? Tony Barger asks, what do I think of NVIDIA buying Railtown? Well, it's very interesting. There was a lot of, I don't know what you want to call it, alarm by the Pentagon versus Anthropic. And, you know, I don't understand the specifics. And there's a video I'm supposed to listen to, which I will. But it's basically, I think, Altman, is that his name? No, the Altman is OpenAI. Whoever Anthropic's guy is, was saying that you can't let these agents drift off into this other data because you don't know what will happen. That was one of the points. Anyway, this just highlights the importance of what Railtown offers. So my point is, if, for example, the NVIDIA stack becomes NVIDIA, HPE, Anthropic, and in the TELUS part of what TELUS adds is that Fuel XI, and I guess that would come in, I don't know if it comes in between the data and the large language model section, or above the or with the large language model, but that would be TELUS's part. And then on top of that, to keep things sovereign and to control the behavior of agents, it would make a lot of sense for either NVIDIA or TELUS, but particularly NVIDIA, to buy Railtown. I think all of the major players are starting to create their own silo, their own chips, but their own stacks. And NVIDIA wants to keep its huge, disproportionate share of this market. I think they're over 90%. And one way might be that that Railtown gets purchased by NVIDIA. Absolutely. Absolutely. And would NVIDIA pay 10 billion, 15 billion? I think only if there were a bidding war, and if Railtown's IP and Railtown's performance made it stand out against any of its competition. In other words, if Railtown, at least in concept, could be its own standalone company, it could go like a unicorn. I think NVIDIA might pay 10 or 15 billion for it, just like Coherent or GitHub was those kind of numbers. Well, those are great numbers for us, really good numbers for us. I don't know if we should think about 15 billion. But if it did happen, it's $67, $65 a share. Is it possible? I mean, it is possible that it would be that expensive. But failing that, the odds of NVIDIA being one of the buyers for Railtown is very high. I think it's going to be Microsoft first as my choice. But I think the logical buyers for Railtown are going to be, because they're embedded with Microsoft. So Microsoft is going to see some of the growth in revenue, I think. And Microsoft has its own desire to keep its standing in software development. And Microsoft, I think, is the largest hyperscaler in Canada. So they're going to want to maintain that. TELUS is a buyer. Whatever the deal is with Railtown, I picked 20% revenue share. We don't know for sure. We may never know. Obviously, if TELUS were to buy Railtown, they'd pick up that revenue automatically because they're sharing it. So they would know how quickly and how important Railtown is growing and how important its software is. The other buyer, I think, would be NVIDIA, as you point out. NVIDIA is going to be able to follow the growth in usage of the TELUS data center and NVIDIA's own stacks. And NVIDIA is going to want to own everything that makes its stack the best. And if Railtown's that answer, sure. I think the final one I'd throw in there as a buyer is Constellation Software, because their whole business model is somewhat at risk. Let me go down the rest of them. I'm going to have to sign off. Maybe I'll come on after my call with the bank. Joe Marty picked up some more rail, reached 200. Wow, Joe Marty. That's a great number. That's a good number. Good for you. Congratulations. Congratulations, Joe Marty. Really, that's very good. Ward Richardson. QNX is BlackBerry software. QVI is Quantum Value Investments, and Mike and Doug own that. Yeah, but what's their quantum company that is in all their automobiles? Maybe it's QVI. Maybe that's it. It's all Q. I wonder if they're the Q in Q. All right, I'm going to sign off. Let's look at the price one last time. I got to sign back in for some reason. Railtown still down half a penny, 35.5. The volume is still 25,820. Finger is up 3 cents at 126. Help is down 2 cents. HLP at 103. GDC's up 3 cents at 375. Nixie down half a penny at 54. Railtown 35.5. The markets are all in the green. So the markets are, I guess, looking beyond this. QVI means quantum. They invest in quantum startups. Yeah, but there's whatever these two guys are doing is in 295 million automobiles. And I want to say it's QTS. I'll look it up before I come back on live. Anyway, let me sign off because I got to call in. And I'm sorry I have to leave before the close. But like I say, maybe I can come on right after the close. Ricky, my credit union has my info on file to send wires. I still have to come in and sign the pad. Can't buy phone. Yeah, I don't know what's. Yeah, maybe they're gonna say I have to go in. Then I'll have to go in tomorrow. But I paid money, or agreed to pay like $60 a month to be able to do it from a computer. Oh, yeah, we'll find out. Anyway, sayonara.